At 8:19, we have evidence that shows Stephan Stearns returning to the complex, and Madeline was visible in that vehicle. We believe she was already dead at that time.
Already dead in the video. This is the man who was the prime suspect in the murder of Madeline Soto, her mother's boyfriend, who she referred to as stepfather. I don't know if that's how Madeline considered him a stepfather or not. That's clearly not how a stepfather is supposed to act. So I would not give him that title. So Jenn Soto spoke to WFTV to recall what happened and spoke about what happened that morning. Remember, she gave this interview when this was still a missing persons case. Let's watch.
We called the police at like 4:45 yesterday, 4:45 p.m. But she actually went missing early that morning, around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning. She went missing. We dropped her off at school, close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to share.
Our guests are back with us. Trebor Randall, how would you approach mom in this situation? Do you approach her as a witness or as a suspect?
Well, we always approach them to gain the information we need to find this child. And then now that we know this has taken a turn for the worse, to gather the facts to make sure we bring the person to justice. It is not uncommon that we end up treating some of the mothers in these cases as what we refer to as a hostile witness. You know, I wish I could tell you that I hadn't had a number of cases where we ended up charging the mother for protecting her paramour, is what we call it when we're referring to her partner that she's not married to. And oftentimes it puts a child at a higher risk many times when we know that the mother has a boyfriend in the home and they're missing, or there's been an injury. You know, statistically speaking, that's a lot of times who we're looking for.
Kenneth Ralph, if in fact she does have an attorney at this point, how does that change the dynamics here?
Well, presumably she will not be speaking to law enforcement if she has an attorney. And I would echo those comments that it's not hardly uncommon at all that we see a non-offending but non-supportive parent involved who either knows what is going on and turns a blind eye to it, or hinders the investigation in some way after it has started. But in this instance, if she has hired a counsel, I'm sure that counsel will tell her not to speak to law enforcement.
Yeah, you guys always do that, Ken. Always. They never talk. Dr. Carol Lieberman, where do you think the mother is mentally at this point?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and it kind of depends upon whether she knew anything about it. You know, if she did know, you know, then she's realizing that everything's going to be coming down on her as well as the boyfriend. If she didn't know, then she'd really be in shock, and she'd be, you know, all the more upset. But, you know, one of the things that the most important thing I think that people need to learn from this case, and I know I said it last time, but you can't say it too many times, that this is a typical scenario where these sexual predators find single mothers who have low self-esteem, don't have, you know, a very exciting life, good life, don't have a boyfriend or a husband, and they swoop in when the mother has a child. And really, you know, they're doing it, they're becoming the boyfriend because they want to sexually abuse the child. So whether she knew or not, you know, consciously or unconsciously knew, that's what she let herself in for. And women have to be so careful of this.
Gray Hughes, what have you uncovered about the mother, and any indication where she is right now?
Well, I have no idea where she is right now, but I'm sure an attorney's probably had her, you know, go low, you know, hide from the public eye, you know, make sure nobody can see or talk to her, because the interviews that she did, there's so many people judging her based on how she answered. In my opinion, it's very possible that the information she's telling us was scripted by Stephan Stearns, and she's just kind of repeating. That's why she's kind of looking up in the air, trying to remember what the story is. But one of the issues that she does have that I think people should think about is when she said that at 8 in the morning, she saw Madeline getting dressed for school. Now that might come back to be a problem for her because at 7:30 in the morning, Stephan Stearns was putting the backpack and laptop into a dumpster, which we would all assume at that point then, Madeline's likely not alive at that point. So at 8 in the morning, how is she seeing her? Now you could say, well, she made a mistake, it was off. Now law enforcement might be able to determine based on digestion or any other elements exactly when she passed away. So when she died, it could have been at, let's say 5 in the morning, and that would mean that Jennifer is offering proof of life at 8 in the morning to help support Stephan Stearns' story, right, at that point. So that would be an interesting development.
Yeah, that'd be a major problem for her. Major problem for her and part of the defense.